Here's a question. Do you believe in heaven? Various polls find that somewhere around 80% of Americans do. But a Harvard-trained brain surgeon wasn't so sure until he spent a week in a coma and came out with an incredible description of the afterlife. My co-anchor Terry Moran has a story.
A mild afternoon in Lynchburg, Virginia, and Eben and Holly Alexander are at a high school soccer game cheering on their 14-year-old son, Bond. They are a perfectly ordinary American family with an extraordinary story. They have been touched by a medical miracle and maybe more.
I mean, it was impossible after impossible after impossible.
Eben Alexander, a Harvard-trained neurosurgeon who was a skeptic when it came to religion, survived a near-death experience, and he now carries the memory of what he says was a journey to heaven, a journey that all his scientific training cannot explain. On November 10, 2008, Eben awoke with a searing headache. When his wife Holly checked in on him, he was having a tremendous seizure.
And I said, say something. And he didn't say anything, so I called 911.
Eben was rushed to the hospital where he worked as a neurosurgeon.
The only word we could truly make out was help, and the rest of his verbalization was purely screaming.
Eben Alexander had been stricken with an extremely rare and virulent E. coli meningitis infection that was ravaging his brain, plunging him into a coma.
I mean, I was trying to die.
In fact, doctors gave him almost no chance to live and told his family if he did survive, he'd be brain damaged for the rest of his life.
His eyes were just off and cocked. It was just like no one was there.
Eben believes Holly is right. He wasn't there.
Did you go to heaven?
Yes. I mean, in every sense of the word, that's what my experience showed me.
His first recollection, he says, was being a speck of pure awareness in a dark and murky underworld.
And then I was rescued by this beautiful spinning white light that had a melody, indescribably beautiful melody with it, that opened up into a bright valley. Just an incredible, rich, ultra-real world of indescribable complexity.
God was there, he says, and he encountered him through an orb of brilliant light. He soared on the wing of a butterfly with a beautiful young woman as his companion, and the young woman gave him a message to take back from heaven.
You are loved, you are cherished, there's nothing you have to fear, there's nothing you can do wrong.
It's a beautiful vision, but heaven?
A lot of people are going to say, Doctor, it was a hallucination. Your brain got zapped by this disease, all the wires got crossed, and you saw a girl on a butterfly wing, and you were spinning up in a melody.
I know this was not a hallucination, not a dream, not what we call a confabulation. I know that it really occurred, and I know it occurred outside of my brain. So basically,
But how? How can he even suggest that, much less claim that his experience is proof of heaven, as he's called his new book? He showed us his brain scans.
It wasn't leaving any part of my cortex unaffected.
So your conclusion is because all of this outer area, which is the higher functioning, was covered with the infection, what you experienced in the coma wasn't part of the brain.
Right.
Many neuroscientists are deeply skeptical of Eben's claims, arguing his brain must have produced his vision somehow, most likely as he came out of coma. But something else happened. After he recovered, Eben, who was adopted, saw a picture of a sister from his biological family who died years ago, a woman he never knew.
And I knew who my guardian angel was on the butterfly wing. It was the most profound experience I've ever had in this life.
Your sister, by birth, and from a family that you didn't know because you were adopted, who died several years ago, who you had never met, you saw while you were in coma.
Yes. And that was the key. That explained everything.
Oh, it smells good, that's for sure.
Dinner time at the Alexander home.
Come, Lord Jesus, our guest to be, and bless these gifts.
They were not a particularly religious family before Eben's coma. He was a skeptic. Not anymore.
This proves that our soul, our consciousness, our spirit doesn't depend on the existence of the brain and body at all, and easily is actually freed up to a much higher state of knowing when it's freed from this body.
A patient on the brink of death.
He had no heart rate. He had no blood pressure. He had no pulse. I mean, think about that.
Like something scripted in Hollywood, says intensive care unit nurse Emily Bishop.
He was down for close to 45 minutes.
During which time, he claims he traveled beyond this world and back.
Well, he was telling me that he loved me and that he'd seen the light and that he had seen my mom and my dad. And I lost it at that point in time because I just lost my mom.
The week after burying his mother-in-law, Brian Miller returned to work, delivering metal here in Streetsboro.
I was feeling fine. And then when I undid the tarp and pulled the tarp off, I started getting the tightness.
Probably the cold air or asthma, he thought, until the intense pain started.
I'm a truck driver, and I think I'm having a heart attack.
Brian was having a massive heart attack, his main artery entirely blocked, known as the Widowmaker.
He was in obvious distress when we found him.
Streetsboro firefighters and paramedics put the hospital on alert.
Got to get real aggressive with our protocols and got him to the hospital as soon as we could.
Can be life or death.
Dr. William Wolf rushed Brian into surgery here at University Hospital's Ahuja Medical Center.
We want to open up the vessel as soon as possible.
Here's the blockage being cleared and blood flow restored.
Man, the pain just started slowly going down.
They told him that he did good by getting here as soon as he did, coming quick.
Not only did Brian survive the heart attack and emergency surgery, he was already up and talking. He was doing fine until he suddenly wasn't.
I saw it come across the screen. I ran in there.
Brian was experiencing a fatal arrhythmia called VFib, ventricular fibrillation.
Basically, his heart rate goes like this, and it's just this like scribble. And his heart is just kind of like quivering in there. It's not able to pump, it's not doing anything.
Emily called Code Blue.
CPR, CPR, CPR. Strong, hard, fast CPR.
A half a dozen nurses and doctors also responded.
Pushing a whole bunch of medications to basically restart his heart.
But at just 41, the husband and father of 3 was slipping away.
The only thing I remember is I started seeing the light and started walking towards the light.
While the ICU team tried to revive Brian, he claims he was walking along a heavenly path lined with flowers, then stopped by a familiar face.
She was the most beautiful thing when I seen her. It was like the first day I met her, and looked so happy.
His mother-in-law, Kay, who had just passed away.
She grabbed a hold of my arm and she told me, it's not your time. You don't need to be here. We need to take you back. You got things to go home and do.
And after what felt like 15 minutes,
her husband, Jack, was back here waving at me, giving me a smile. And she just telling me to go home. It walked me back.
But at the hospital, time was running out, or so everyone thought.
We shocked him 4 times. And on the 4th time, it still didn't work. And then out of nowhere, he got his pulse back.
A normal heartbeat after nearly 45 minutes.
It's pretty awesome to see.
Even more incredible was Brian's condition.
So if you think about that, his brain had no oxygen for 45 minutes. So the fact that he is up, walking, talking, laughing, everything, I mean, that's amazing.
As is Brian's memory of the white light.
And I just totally broke down. And I went and sat down because I totally lost it when he told me that.
But Brian says there's no reason to feel sad. The experience has changed his entire outlook on life and death.
There is an afterlife, and people need to believe in it big time.
He says he's eternally grateful to the medical staff and his mother-in-law for this second chance.
I need to be here a lot more longer. I got 3 wonderful daughters and a wife.
And in the end, he says, that's all that really matters.
Love, very much love.